Good morning. The pumpkins are carved and our cauldron is bubbling over with spooktacular food. Get set for 90 minutes of fantastic recipes. This is Saturday Kitchen Live. Thanks. Welcome to the show. Now we've garnished the studio with Halloween decorations, as you can see, all lined up for some fantastic guests. Spooky titles as well, I hope you like those. Treating us with 2 dishes today is the brilliant Bryn Williams. Good morning, Bryn.
Morning.
All right?
And I've changed.
I know. You've been very smart, well done.
Thank you.
Well done. He's got all the tricks of the trade, is our Wizard of Wine, Olly Smith, right here.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Olly. You well?
Very, very well. I've got a drinks trolley that is pile high today. I've pushed the boat out. It's a special celebration. Halloween. And Nigella's here.
Oh, don't give it away. Jeez.
I know.
Is that a cigar in one of your pumpkin's mouths down
It's not a cigar. It's a cork. It's chewing with...
OK, we're not advocating that. Our special guest today needs no introduction. It's the fantastic Nigella Lawson. Good morning, Nigella.
Good morning. Thank you.
12 cookbooks, 10 million sold worldwide, 10 popular TV series shown on here over the years throughout. Lovely to have you here live.
It's lovely to be back.
A real treat. Now listen, we talk lots and lots later. You've got a new book out, you've got a new TV showing in just a bit. Let's see what's on the menu first. You lad, what have you got for us?
I'm going to be doing the first recipe. I'm doing a poached pollock in potted shrimp butter with a shrimp salad and some mashed potato on the side.
Very delicious.
Quite autumnal. You know, you got cayenne pepper in there, you got nutmeg in there, so it's lovely, nice and light.
Excellent. And what's your second dish?
Second dish is doing a tatin of beetroot with whipped goat cheese and winter bitter leaves, so red endive and dandelion leaves.
Making all the right noises over there.
Oh, I know, but I love those ingredients.
Yeah.
Red, you know, I call it like red chicory, I call it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So wonderful.
Yeah, lovely. Nice and
Very
bitter.
nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Olly, how'd you get on matching these this week?
I loved both these recipes. Comforting, warming, they're absolutely divine. I've chosen 2 classic wines, one of which is a bit of a spend, but it's beautiful. The other one is a total steal.
Excellent. Now, as it's Halloween, I thought I'd make a dish using pumpkin. There's plenty of those around at the moment. So I'm going to get some pumpkin, cook it in a pan till it's nice and soft. I'm going to panne that and deep fry it till it's nice and crispy. I've got a nice sort of cheese fondue-y affair with that and a little kale vinaigrette. Nigella, while you're here, you couldn't not cook for us. So what are you doing?
Well, no, I feel after you 2 have talked about these exquisite dishes, I'm doing an all-in-one cake.
Good.
It's my marzipan loaf cake. I love a simple cake, and I have to say, although it says marzipan, I call it marzipan. Marzipan haters do like it.
Right. Good.
I love marzipan.
Well, that's OK then. Let's not worry about anyone else.
No, exactly.
Exactly.
Now, at the end of the show, food heaven, food hell. Now, this is quite tricky for you because you basically love everything, don't you?
I do, yes.
So talk us through your food heaven.
Well, food heaven, I mean, I could... There's so many ingredients I could have chosen, but anchovies, came very high up for me. I am a bit of an anchovy obsessive.
Yes, you are, to the point where there's a whole chapter in this book written about anchovies. There's about... A is for anchovies. There it is. Look at that. There's about 10 pages as a preamble to the actual recipe.
I know.
How can you write 10 pages about anchovies?
I could have done the whole book, really.
Really?
But then, so I thought anchovies, black pudding, I thought of those wonderful, deep, rumbling flavours, but definitely anchovies, dream of.
And celeriac was on the list?
Celeriac, definitely. The red chicory on the list.
Black pudding?
Black pudding.
All the good things.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the nice things. Now, hell, a bit more tricky.
Yes, I find it really hard to think of things I don't like eating.
Tripe?
Yeah, I'm happy with tripe.
Really?
I mean, it does make the place smell when you cook it, but I'm happy to eat it.
Andriette?
Oh, divine, yes.
Really?
So I like that, and I kind of exhausted myself on previous visits because I've done soy milk and, green bell peppers, which are the 2 things I had. But I didn't want to disappoint.
Okay.
So I really, thought, and I feel chopped candied peel.
Okay.
Chopped candied peel is... I'm not not even in an emergency do I think I would find room for chopped candied peel.
OK, we'll take that. So if the viewers give you heaven, I'm going to make a dish using a medley of your favourite ingredients. So I'm going to make a rich and buttery celeriac puree. I'm going to top that with some chicory dressed in sherry vinegar, some anchovies. I'm going to leave those whole because they're too good to blitz. Sprinkle with some crumbled black pudding and some seared scallops. Obviously, if they give you hell, it's going to be a ghoulish dessert. So I'm going to make a Sicilian-inspired cassata, semifreddo, packed full of candied peel and glacé cherries, pistachios and raisins. I serve that with some maple and masala, roasted quinces, pears and blackberries. That head movement saying,
well, no, I could manage that. I'm thinking I could quite manage that.
Obviously, you have to wait to the end of the show to find out which one the viewers vote for. So, guys, go and log on to the website now to vote for Nigella's Heaven or Hell.
Heaven, please.
And you can also view the terms and privacy notices there as well. Now, as always, you've been sending us pictures showing off your culinary creations at home. Here we've got a few of these. These are all from last week. There's a couple of galettes I made last week. These are Anna's risottos, Freddie's flatbreads, very nice, like that. Let's have a closer look at these. First up, we've got Brian. Brian, I'm starting to think you're a professional food photographer.
Look at the background on that.
You know, you've got this nice backdrop here, piece of board. That's one of Freddie's flatbreads. That looks very nice. Fiona created not one, not two, but 3 of last week's dishes. Very impressive stuff. Very nice. Keep them coming in. Send us over your snaps to saturday.kitchen@cactustv.co.uk or share them using the hashtag #SaturdayKitchen. Bryn, right, pollock and potted shrimps.
Yes.
How are we doing this?
So, it's a play on the classic potted shrimp. So I love potted shrimp. Sometimes you think, how can you get that into a main course dish? So what we're going to do is a potted shrimp butter to cook the pollock in. So getting all those flavours in there. So to start off with, we need cayenne pepper, butter, nutmeg, and lemon. So we're just going to mix it all together. That's all we're going to do is bring it all together for a nice seasoned butter. Then we're going to place on top of the pollock in the oven.
So you're not putting the shrimps in yet?
No, the shrimps are already cooked. So I always think if you overcook the shrimps, they go taste a little bit muddy. You get that kind of taste to see what the sand, which you don't really want. So they're already cooked. They don't need to go in there. So we've got cayenne pepper, salt, butter, nutmeg. Okay. And I'm a big, big fan of nutmeg, so I put quite heavy.
So what is the history behind this? Do you know, is it a very old English dish? What were those spices?
Yeah, I use mace, not nutmeg, which is similar. I mean, obviously it's the casing, yes. Or both. I love both.
So we're just grating the skin of the lemon. So we're just getting all those flavours in it. So everything you'd have in a potted shrimp, it's in the butter. The whole lot of them, we're cooking the fish in it. So in it goes. I'm just going to bring it together. And then we're going to cook the pollock in a little bit of water and the butter. So normally, and then we're going to bake it in the oven. So in it goes.
So will you be using the water and the butter as your finished sauce or not?
I want that butter on toast.
Yes. Well, you could have, exactly.
No.
Is this now a rider?
No. I should have thought earlier, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I just think it's one. If you love potted shrimp, this sauce people will love to eat. So in a pan, a little bit of water.
So let's talk about this paper. Why are you doing this? Could you use butter paper, right?
You could use butter paper. It's easier to take it out later, and it doesn't stick to the bottom of the frying pan. Well, even though we bring it up to the simmer here, we just want to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the frying pan.
That's quite a kind of restaurant-y trick.
It is, but it's very cost-effective. Everybody uses butter papers. Normally they go in a bin. Yeah. Just keep them, freeze them.
In the
always
bin?
good. Well, a lot of people do tend to put them in a bin. We obviously don't. So, pollock in, butter on top, in the oven.
OK, so you're just bringing it up to temperature there and throwing it through. You're not there's no cooking on the stove.
We're just baking the fish. That'll take 6-7 minutes, just enough time to get everything else done.
OK. Now, this is on the menu at Odette's?
Yeah, there's
in
a
slightly different form.
Yeah, it's a version of it, yes.
What do you do there?
So now we're going to do some croutons. So we do some normally brill we have on the menu at the restaurant.
Yeah.
But pollock is also good. I prefer pollock to cod, if I'm honest, because I think cod, even though with the flakes...
Controversial.
Yeah, well, pollock is cheaper for a start, and I just think it's just a better fish to take on the flavours, and you can bake it in the oven without falling to bits. He says that on live TV in 6 minutes' time. We'll find out it doesn't fall to bits. But normally it's a stronger fish to keep together.
Would you salt it at all beforehand?
Pollock, sometimes in a restaurant, what we would do is sit in a brine for about 20 minutes. So 10% salt to water.
Right.
Mix it together, stick it in put the fish in the brine liquor for 20 minutes. That's it. Take it out and let it dry.
And that's enough to give it a bit of
Exactly, yeah.
salty flavour.
So
right?
in here we've got frying pan, a little bit of oil, in with the croutons, and we're just going to fry them off.
This is a classic French garnish, right?
It is called a grenoise.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying it right, but that's what it is, yeah. So we just done a play on that, really. So next job is now using the rest of the lemon. We've got brown shrimps, some spoons. So we just make a warm salad now. Sorry.
Incoming question.
Yes.
Incoming question. Potted shrimps, was it just to preserve them? Was that the origin of how they came about?
I don't personally know, to be honest, Ollie. But I imagine that's what it was before.
I don't know. Or I don't know, but it's...
I mean, why else would you pack something in butter? I think it's probably to
I would have thought so.
Yeah, I imagine it's a way of preserving the potted shrimps, because obviously when you catch the shrimps, you're going to catch quite a lot.
And
But
they're going to go
everything
off
was
quickly,
potted
aren't they?
in the olden days, wasn't it? Or end bits of meat and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take off the skin off the lemon, then cut into segments to place in with the capers, the brown shrimps.
OK. And now tell us about Odette's at the moment. I mean, obviously, it's a real challenge for all the restaurants.
Yeah, I think...
I mean, how are you coping?
As best as possible, if I'm honest. You know, you're trying to run a business with what... I think not just catering, any restaurants at the moment or any business is trying to run their business with one hand tied behind their back. You try and do the best for your customers, your staff. It's just a bit of planning would be good to help us through these winter months. But you know what? Health is more important than anything else.
But it's almost anti-hospitality at the moment, isn't it? I mean, we had Theo on a couple of weeks ago, and he said it's just, as a restaurateur, it's just embarrassing to be able to have to give people the bill and turn the lights up at 9:30 in the evening.
There's definitely an element of where we are feeding people and then asking them to leave before they need to leave. There is definitely about 10 p.m. curfew, definitely. But that's the position we're all in. And if you've got great customers like we who have an Odette's, they understand that. So they'll try and come a bit earlier. Yeah. They'll pre-order beforehand. Sometimes they'll pre-order desserts at the same time they order the starters and main course to make it easier for us, to make sure they can have a free course.
It must be incredibly difficult, because I suspect that the service time has now come down to just a very small window, and therefore everyone comes at once. Yeah. And then everyone leaves at once.
You know, we've always had issues where everybody wants to sit at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, of course. But now everyone wants to sit at 7.
Exactly, yeah. So everybody wants to do it now. So, yeah, so...
Is this something you've come across in eating out recently?
I haven't eaten out.
Have you not?
Well, I've been filming, and I'm long past the age when I can get up at 5 every morning, get home at 9 and think, oh, I'll go out now.
Right.
I just lie down at home.
So, in here we've got brown shrimps, capers, lemon segments, croutons, chopped parsley, and then a bit of lemon juice and some salt. And that's the sort of the potted shrimp salad ready. OK.
Greg, a while ago we had Greg Marchand on, and he did this dish minus the brown shrimps. It's just delicious. Without those croutons in there as well.
Just gives you real texture, because we take the skin off the fish. If you pan fry the fish and have all the skin on it, they give you good texture. Because we've removed the skin, we still want to add some kind of texture back in there. So that's why the croutons are really goes well with it. So to serve with the fish, the butter and the salad, we've got some potatoes. So these potatoes have been baked. So I tend to not cook a lot of vegetables in water. So these potatoes are baked on salt, scooped out, through a ricer. We're just going to add some...
I hope you ate the skins.
Yes, keep the skins. They're the best bits. Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes we serve the skins back on top of the mashed potato, put them back through the oven, crisp them up, chop them all up and place them on top. So you get that kind of, again, going back to texture, which I think is so important.
Once upon a time, that was the preserve of staff tea, wasn't it?
Yeah, massively. Yeah, massively. Yeah, it was.
Deep-fried potato skins.
Yeah, and fill back up again. Yeah. So we're just going to add a bit of cream, a little bit of butter, pinch of salt, and then make that as a nice buttery
So let's just talk about that, actually, because this is kind of, again, another kind of restaurant trick whereby you can make it ahead of time and then add a bit more cream just to sort of loosen it and bring it back to heat, right?
Yeah, if you rice the potatoes, have a pot of warm double cream or milk or butter, whichever you prefer, really.
Got to be warm.
Yeah, warm, and just keep adding into it and just add it to the potato. That's the best way to keep the mashed potato warm.
Sure.
And not... What you don't want to do is add it all together, stick it in the fridge, and then try and reheat it. It tends to split out the butter and the cream will split out. So if you're going to keep mash, keep it dry in the fridge, and then just keep adding warm liquid to it as and when you need to, yeah. How long's that fish been in for?
6 minutes.
6 minutes. That should be ready by now.
Says the voice in my ear.
Yeah, is it? Okay, good.
It's almost like I've been paying attention.
Have you? Let's hope so. So the fish has been in there, what, 6, 7 minutes. The butter just starts to melt. What we're going to do, we're back in the heat. And again, we're just going to take off, get the butter. We'll give that another minute or so in the oven, and then that'll be ready.
So how did this come around then?
It's all from the love of the pot of shrimp, really. You think, how can you get those flavours into a main course? I think pot of shrimp, for me, it's a starter.
Yeah.
You love the flavours, so how can you get that into a bigger dish? It becomes some greed, really.
And you've got, I've just realised you've got the toast element as well.
Yeah, that's in there as a croutons, because you need those croutons in there as texture. If you had just potted shrimps, you would just have a piece of toast, potted shrimps on top, you'd eat it. So it's just a play on that, really. And I just think having great ingredients, simple on a plate, that's all we need, really. And I think if you do everything as best you possibly can, that's all we should be doing. Yeah. You know? So get those flavours.
Nigella, tell me, I mean, when you do go out to restaurants, do you head for somewhere sort of highly elaborate, or is it always for sort of great comfort eating?
Well, no, I tend to go to, mostly just to places that I have known for a long time and I feel sort of cosy in.
Right.
And then every now and then I want to go somewhere where I'm going to eat something I've never eaten before. So it's a bit of a balance, I suppose.
Yeah, I think as well, people want to... I think it doesn't matter what line of food it is, people want comfort. It doesn't matter if it's takeaway or fine dining. Yeah. The element of comfort is always there. Yeah. So the dish that you know, you recognise the dish. And I think, having mashed potato on the menu, we don't always have it on the menu, but if we do, we make sure it's the best mashed potato, not something you can have at home. Normally there's a lot more cream, a lot more butter in it, but that's the joy of having mashed potato in a restaurant, not at home, because you can go a bit heavier on it.
On the butter.
It's chips I want to eat if I go out, but I need them to be hand cut. Right. And I have to, because I think if they're machine cut, it's very hard to get hand cut ones. They're too smooth, the edges, and if all the edges are so smooth, you don't get enough of that crunch and crispy bits.
Okay, so we've got mashed potato on the plate, out with the fish. We're just going to keep the fish nice and pink. And now we're going to just add... So by having to put a paper in the bottom of the pan is another way of getting the fish out of the pan as well, without breaking the fish. Brilliant. So there's a couple of ways you could do it. A palette knife as well is always good. But in the restaurants, when you're busy in the kitchen, you need something quite quick to get it out. So mashed potatoes on the plate. I'm just going to add the pot of shrimps, the capers, the lemon segments on the fish. And that is it. So I just think the texture and the flavours on top.
You don't need much else, do you?
If you've got good quality fish, good mash, nice bit of sauce with it, especially with fish, that's all you really need. I think we can overcomplicate things. And when we overcomplicate things, you tend to forget about what we're doing, what's the end game. So this is all about the fish. It's all about the shrimps on top.
Very nice.
And
can I eat it
a good mashed potato. And that is it.
Right, what do you call it?
Baked pollock in pot shrimp butter, shrimp salad and mashed potato.
Triumph. Delicious. Thanks, Bryn. Right, there you go.
Thank you.
These plates are heavy. Right, here's the wine.
Beautiful.
Right, put one of those in front of you. Let's tuck into this first. Is this the sort of thing you cook at home?
The fish would be, I think having that kind of simplicity of the fish at home, baked, not fried, I think it's something I would do quite often, It is something I do quite often.
It's lovely.
The salty capers and that spice, well, it's the shrimps that are giving it that sea taste.
Yeah, it's like having a warm salad of pot of shrimps with a piece of fish underneath. That's what it's about.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it? That's really delicious.
Good.
Right, Ollie, before I take this next mouthful, what have we got?
We have special occasion wine. This is Chablis Premier Cru, which is a really top level of Chablis. Now, Chablis is Chardonnay, but not all Chardonnay is Chablis. This is really delicious. And it's the sites that make the wine so special. So you have this Kimmeridgian soil, which is basically marine fossils, and that gives real vitality to the wine. If you think about the dish, capers have a bit of bite, but it's got texture from the potatoes. And unusually for Chablis, this has seen a little bit of oak, so it has a silkiness and a richness, and it's one of those wines that could cost so much more. I know $13.99, it's a big spend, but trust me, Chablis Premier Cru doesn't often cost $13.99. People charge a lot more for it. Wonderful year as well, 2018, a belter.
A belter indeed. What do you think of this?
Very good, yeah. Good combination. The wine's a bit like Ollie. Silky, smooth, great. It's very good.
Oh, you save all your best lines for life,
it's
don't
good.
you?
That is really good wine. It is £13, but you can taste, I think you can taste the value in the glass. I think it comes through, and a great combination with the fish.
Very nice. Well done, all. Happy, Nigella?
Thanks, Matt.
I am. I'm a bit frightened of drinking at this time in the morning.
Don't be frightened. Just
You'll be fine.
just go with it.
I've been doing it for
Just go
years.
with it.
It smells very good. OK, I'm going to have a small amount.
Later on, Nigella will be cooking a recipe from her new book, so stay tuned for that one. Bryn, you're cooking again. Remind us what you're doing.
I'm going to do a tatin of beetroot with whipped goat cheese and bitter winter leaves.
Delicious. Don't forget to send in your photos or any foodie questions to us at saturday.kitchen@cactustv.co.uk or join in on the chats on social media using the hashtag SaturdayKitchen. And will Nigella be tucking into her food heaven, obviously? Seared scallops with black pudding and anchovies, or food hell? Nah. Semi-Fredo with roasted autumnal fruits and dreaded candy peel. Go and log onto the website now and have your say. OK, time to catch up with Rick now. He continues his French adventure, and this week he's visiting a food market for some lunchtime inspiration. Have a look. Thanks for that, Rick. Stick with the rabbit. It's delicious, always delicious. Now, if you hadn't noticed, it's Halloween today, so I wanted to make something using pumpkins. It'd be great to enjoy watching the rugby this afternoon, or Strictly, if that's your thing. So I've got some pumpkin here. This is an ironbark pumpkin. Very nice, very dense flesh. So I've got some chopped up. I'm going to put that in a pan now and colour that up. So this is going to cook all the way through. A little bit of rosemary, a bit of garlic, and I'm going to put some pancetta in there and then use that on the finished dish a bit later on. To go with that, I've got some kale. I'm going to make a little vinaigrette with some shallots and red wine vinegar, just a sort of acidity kind of kick. And then I'm going to make a very simple cheese sauce, lots of Gruyere, lots of Parmesan, bit of cream. Delicious, kind of like a fondue, very rich, very delicious, very now, and goes well with pumpkin, in my opinion. But these two might have something else to say. Right, so let's get the pumpkin on. That's going to take about 6-8 minutes, depending on sort of the thickness. Not too much rosemary because it's very overpowering. Slither of garlic, half a clove. Let's get the pancetta in. Pull that out halfway through when it gets nice and crispy, and then right in with that. Give that a bit of seasoning. Try not to splash your shirt. Right, so while that's going on, Nigella, let's talk about your new book. 12th book, came out yesterday. Tell us about the concept behind it, because each one is slightly different.
Each one is slightly different. I mean, the concept is always too grand a word, I think, for what I do. So I suppose it's really about, for me, the pleasures of food, which also lie in the cooking and not just in the eating. And I really wanted to think a bit about the repetition involved, which I love. And by repetition, I mean things like the ingredients that I love and return to, or the recipes that I return to, even if maybe I have a little fiddle about and I want to do something a bit different. But also that there is something very calming in the ritual of cooking, because really, no matter what you're cooking, you are basically chopping or stirring.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's so much of that. So, and I find it makes, for me, the kitchen quite a sort of relaxing space to be in. But I suppose it really just was a reflection on the food I love, and that's always a pleasure.
And is it, I mean, do you find it quite sort of therapeutic? Do you think it's relaxing, or do you reach a point where it's a job and I have to do it?
Well, no, because I've never, you know, because you see, cooking has never been my job. So, in a way, it's never that.
Right.
If I've been filming, I have to say, if I cook when I get back in the evening, I find it quite relaxing not having to worry about my arm blocking the camera or something. So I like that.
Annoying. Are you listening to this, Tom? Terribly annoying.
But I do love it. I think that I find pottering about, cooking for just myself, very therapeutic.
Right.
I think and in a way, there's not going to be any grand scale cooking going on at home for obvious reasons at the moment. And I think that sort of small scale domestic cooking is actually restful. Yeah. I think once you think of it as a performance and you try and cook to impress people, you've got people coming over. And at home, everyone loves home food. It doesn't have to be...
There's a great recipe in here for one, where it's not for one, I'd eat it myself. It's the sausages with a black treacle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the Christmas sausages.
Yeah.
God, they're so delicious.
They just sound...
I know, you see, I wasn't going to do cocktail sausages because I thought there aren't any parties. No parties this year, Christmas parties. So that's my rule. You've always got to have a cocktail sausage. And then I thought, oh my God, no, I have to have the sausages. Then I realised maybe I only like the parties as a, excuse for making cocktail sausages. So I just cut to the chase. I just make the sausages.
I mean, we've touched on it earlier, but the titles are interesting, and we touched on the anchovies. Yeah. A loving defence of brown food, which I feel totally vindicated for, because I love brown food, and I'm always told off.
Most people love brown food.
Because it's not, it doesn't fall into that whole kind of Insta generation, does it?
It doesn't at all, but my God, it's good. It's so wonderful, and especially as we get to this time of year, and you just think like a stew, stew, casserole, whatever you want to call it.
The most important thing about
cooking. Are you
cooking.
agreeing with me there, Ollie?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to ask, actually, what is the kind of the indispensable ingredient of the moment in your kitchen?
Oh, God, I've got too many. Why do people always make me want to go down to sort of minimise my place? Well, do you know what? Salt, always. Salt, always. Lemons. I couldn't... Those lemons and salt, I would find it very hard to cook without.
I started cooking a lot with miso now.
Yeah.
So I did some sprouts yesterday and worked with the miso in it. So playing around with different...
What, yeast flakes?
No, the miso paste.
Oh, miso. Yeah, okay.
And using that as a flavour, as a saltiness. Again, like the anchovies, you get a real depth of flavour. So I've started to use a lot of miso in just a spoonful into stews. It just adds a different level without realising.
And it's better. I always think they're stirred in a bit at the end often. No, but it's good in so much. But then it has that wonderful thing of saltiness, but depth and a slight sweetness going on too.
As it has a flavour you can't put your finger on.
But I think so many ingredients do that, make life simple, because they've got such complexity in themselves. They do a lot of the work for you, and I find that with anchovies or certain spices. My
wife is always shouting at me for having so many open jars in the fridge. But if you've got those things to hand, it makes life so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you've got the anchovies, you've got the miso paste and things like that, and a spoonful of this, that and the other, and you can transform the most banal dish into something quite exciting, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's look at this, just a sec. So I've got my pumpkin. The cheese sauce is just there, just melting nicely. So pumpkin into some egg and some crumbs. I'm going to chuck those in the fryer to get them nice and crispy. And then that's pretty much it. We'll go back to the cheese sauce. And that really is nothing to that. That's just heating up some double cream. And then add your grated cheese, whatever cheese you like. I like a nice strong Gruyere. And then finish that with a bit of Parmesan. Obviously, cheddar would work just as well. And then the little vinaigrette, red wine vinegar, shallot, olive oil. And I'm going to scrunch up some kale, raw kale, just to sort of marinate in that. Right, going back to the titles.
Yes.
The one that jumped out, much depends on dinner. Rather the more refreshingly titled, How to Invite People Over for Supper Without Hating Them.
Well, it was going to be gone without hating them or yourself. And then, of course, that was made rather redundant, and now it seems extraordinary that you would feel, resentful. You know how you can do that thing where you two probably don't, but you can invite people over and it's so expansive and it feels great, and as the day gets nearer, you get more and more stressed or resentful, and you start blaming them, and you've invited them. And so I was going to have a chapter on the sort of recipes that you can do without feeling that, but in a sense, so I changed it to maybe a reflection on how the evening meal can make such a difference to our day, which I think we all know it can. So I mean, the recipes aren't in themselves that different because I always cook fairly, manageable, basic things.
But that's the key, isn't it? If you're getting friends and family over, cook something you've done before. Don't do anything new, because that's where the hate comes into it, because you've never done it before, you burn it, you run around. So I always play it quite safe, something I've done before, so it's stress-free, or try as possible.
Yes.
I think also that's the lovely thing about the book, is that the recipes, because you love to cook them and repeat cooking them, that's why they're in the book. They're that good, you can't resist cooking them. So if you're familiar with them as well, it's a win.
I'll tell you the other thing I noticed in the book, which I really, really love, and I haven't seen it since, I suppose, an Elizabeth David cookbook, where actually there's recipes almost written in the text.
As
and
well,
you add a picture of this, and so you have your set recipes as we know recipes books to be, but there's also this, it was almost conversational.
Yes, I suppose in a way it was slightly drawing on my, not on purpose, but on my first book, How to Eat, which had a lot of that sort of, oh, and why don't you? And while you've got this jar of this, why don't you do this as well? But in a way, it's just...
It's a much more relaxing...
But it's gives me such pleasure. I'm just really just talking about all the things I love to eat, and I'm trying to make connections. I want to say, in a way, it's about, like, you have an ingredient, this is what you can do with it. And there's this recipe, but there are other ideas, and I can never really stop myself.
It's a bit of a blueprint, isn't it? People can chop and change your recipes, as you said, if they like something else. And that's
I think so, I hope so. But then again, the actual recipes have to be... I mean, I test and retest non-stop.
Not like
I'm
Matt,
obsessive.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Nigella says she tests every single recipe, and I said, not like Matt.
But you're sort of moving off me, Chris. So I also noticed you said it's not enough just to write a recipe. You need to test it, obviously. But then if I don't want to cook it, it doesn't go in. And you need to cook it sort of time and time
I
and
need
time
to want to
again.
cook it lots and lots of times. Lots and lots of times.
Yeah, not just filling a page, is it?
And I also, when my children were smaller, this is how I used to say, because I always end up with far too many recipes for books, as you can imagine. Never mind the recipes, it's the amount of words as well. So then I used to imagine a fellow parent coming up to me saying, oh, I'm going to cook whatever recipe I was thinking about tonight. And if in my head I thought, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm so thrilled you're doing it, it went in the book. And if I thought, well, that's nice, but maybe first.
That's
okay.
And then no, it doesn't, because it's not enough that a recipe works.
Yeah.
You really have to fight for
proud
it to
of
be
it.
And more, but just feel excited with the idea of anyone cooking it.
So remember that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
In your head. OK, so there's the little pumpkin. I've got the cheese sauce in here. It's going to kind of congeal... Bad word. Give me a better word. It's going to...
What's it going to do? Thicken and get more velvety?
Yes. That's primetime telly right there. So get more velvety. And then I've got the little kale salad here, which, again, like I said, it's just raw kale and just sort of beaten down, really. I get a terrible phrase. Macerated.
Yeah, the lemon juice starts to break it down, so I'm bringing out a flavour, doesn't it?
Yes. Right, there's a bit of that.
Have you tested this recipe, Matt?
I tested it yesterday.
There you go.
Thank you, Bryn.
I get the emails, he does test them.
Am I going to regret that shirt comment earlier?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I had to go out and buy a new shirt in 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you used his card.
Yes. Yeah. He doesn't know yet. Yeah.
Right, a little bit of the pancetta over the top. And it's kind of nice, autumny.
Like I say, feels very seasonal. You know, pumpkins, kale, cheese. It's got seasonal and the right time of year as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Getting myself ready for this.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
It's quite hot. You dig into that.
It's okay. I've got...
Ollie, any wine suggestions?
Absolutely. With pumpkin at this time of the year, Viognier is the great variety you want to go for. There's loads of good examples around. I'd say if you're looking for good value, the Languedoc in France is a place to look. But also Chile has some lovely Viognier. Definitely want to go for with pumpkin with that peachy, apricot and toe. It's scrumptious.
That melted cheese makes me want to go skiing.
Good.
All right?
Lovely.
You too? Yeah.
It was lovely, but...
Good. I'll come back to you. It's quite hot.
No, it's fine.
What will I be making for Nigella at the end of the show? Will it be her food heaven? Black pudding with anchovies. If so, I'm going to make a rich and buttery celeriac puree. Topped with chicory, dressed in sherry vinegar and anchovies, sprinkled with some crumbled black pudding and some seared scallops. Or will it be her food hell, candy peel? So I'm going to make a cassata semifreddo packed full of candy peel and glacé cherries and pistachios and raisins and maple and masala roasted quinces, pears and some blackberries. Go and log onto the website right now and get voting. Still to come, Nigella will be cooking a recipe from her new book, but she'll also be facing either food heaven or food hell. So that's going to be seared scallops with black pudding and anchovies, or her food hell semifreddo with roasted autumnal fruits. The vote is still open. It's going one way. Get online now. Bryn, what are we doing?
Beetroot tartatan.
Excellent. Crack on.
So first, we've got some beetroots already cooked, so wrapped in tin foil, baked in the oven for about an hour and 40 minutes. Let them cool down. Okay. Peel and cut. So we're going to make a caramel for the tartatan. So
when I heard you're doing tartatan, this kind of filled me with fear, because I remember, you know, years ago we used to do lots and lots.
We used to work together for Marco. Yeah.
I've seen. Bryn and I used to work many years ago together at a restaurant in Piccadilly for Marco. Yeah. And this was staple. Tartatan was a staple of the menu, wasn't it? And you had to get it right.
I've seen grown men cry over, well, apple tartatans, wasn't it?
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So
I think I could cook them in my sleep now.
Yeah.
I make a Danish pastry when I do tart tatin instead of using puff pastry. I make a really quick process of Danish pastry.
What? So you've got the lightness and the currants and the.
No, that's the actual pastry.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's interesting.
Nice.
So if you're doing a fruit tartatan, like a pear and apple, you would put a layer of butter, sugar, place your fruit in. And bring the caramel up to the right colour as you start to cook the apples. But when you're doing a beetroot tartatan, because the beetroot already cooked, we want to bring the caramel to the right consistency straight away. Okay. Then we're going to add the beetroot. So sugar, butter, touch of vinegar. So we have that little bit of that sweet and sour going on. It's not a sweet dish. This is a savoury. So.
We should say, I mean, in real time, we're up against the clock here, but in real time you make a caramel, that's going to take probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, 4 or 5 minutes.
And then you stop it with the sherry vinegar?
Yes, you stop the sherry vinegar. Be careful, stand to one side when you put the sherry vinegar in.
Yeah.
And then add your beetroots in. Keep them nice and big, because you want that kind of nice chunky bits of beetroot, because they will cook. It will take 40 minutes or so to cook the pastry in the oven. So if it's too small, the beetroot, they will deteriorate, go to mush, and the pastry will be raw, which we don't want.
And this is one of your wife's favourites?
Yes.
I understand.
For
you cook
years,
this a lot for her?
Not this dish, you know. For years, she's always said, do that dish, no, 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 and today I'm doing it, so I'm sure tomorrow afternoon there'll be beetroots in the kitchen for me to do this.
Do another one.
Yeah, do another one, exactly. So, caramel's done. Line of puff pastry on top.
OK, so slightly bigger than the tin?
And the key, what I always think for a good tartatan is the pastry's tucked down by the fruit. So in it goes, and then now with the back of a spoon, once the first one's in, you just literally push the pastry all the way around. Be very careful because the caramel is hot. You can let it cool down if you want to. Tuck it all in.
And at this stage, you could leave it, right? You could put it in the fridge.
You could, yeah. Because the caramel's at the right colour. Yeah. You just want to cook the pastry. So you could let it go cold now, and then if you're having a dinner party and you don't want to...
Remember those?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So,
the good old days.
Yeah, so that'll be in the oven now, 40 minutes. Just cook the pastry. The beetroot's cooked, the caramel's already done in colour-wise. Yeah. And then in the oven.
I'm very impressed by the backing towards the oven.
I know, he's getting that, isn't he? Yeah.
You never know when Matt's around, what he's going to do to you, or what he's going to say.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Bryn. I was going to ask, you know, back in the days when you worked for Marco, how would you characterise Matt in the kitchen?
A total legend, I think he'll say.
He hasn't changed much, if I'm honest, Ali.
Fair play.
Always good fun. If you're working next to him, you'd have to do a lot of tidying up.
I'm waiting for the punchline.
Yeah, for the tidying up. No, it was good fun, wasn't it? Working for Marco, what, 22, 23 years ago when we first met each other. Yeah. So we're going to make a quick dressing for the winter leaves. So using rapeseed oil, olive oil, salt, a little bit of rapeseed oil.
OK.
And leave that there. So winter leaves. I love winter leaves. I think a lot of people think of salad as iceberg and all this, but I think bitter leaves, they're beautiful.
Bitter leaves, yeah.
I like the bitter leaves, so dandelion leaves, which...
You're a big fan of this, aren't you?
I love bitter leaves, but I also I don't like to hear iceberg disparaged like that.
Yeah, I know. Bad, Bryn.
Sorry, no, what... yes, I'll take that back, Nigella. But what I mean by is...
No, but
people
it's
think
wonderful,
just salad, just
Yeah.
iceberg. They don't... They think salad's always in the summer, not in the winter. And I think this is a perfect example. You can have a winter salad, not using iceberg, where it doesn't really grow this time of year.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Anyway, the bitter leaves grow better in the cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a take on a tatin? Is it something you have in your repertoire that you?
Well, as I said, yes, I just, fairly. I've done it with quinces and I do it with apples.
Yeah.
But as I say, there's a. I think this is my second book. There's a processor method, Danish pastry, which is much less complicated than making puff pastry and or anything.
I mean,
you can buy. But I quite like it. I haven't made one for quite a while, but I do rather love. I do rather love that moment when you.
Yeah.
Turn it upside down.
How's it going to turn out?
I mean, I burn myself non-stop. This is one of my most recent ones, you see.
Yeah.
But I think you do, because the hot caramel comes, as you do it on the plate, it's quite easy to burn yourself.
It is very easy.
I'm quite clumsy, I have to be...
Very easy to burn yourself. So, tatin is done. We've got one that's been out the oven cooling for obvious reasons we don't burn ourselves. Yeah. Dressing's done. Bitter leaves are prepped. Goat cheese, so soft goat cheese, a little bit of creme fraiche, a touch of double cream.
So why the creme fraiche and the cream?
I just want more of a silky goat cheese. Just because
like velvety?
Yeah, more velvety. I just think having those kind of flavours, it goes well with the beetroot. I don't want it to overtake the tatin. So we're just whipping it up really like a double cream, really. And that's it. We just want to get that kind of real nice textures there. And that's it. Okay. So that's done. Dressing is done. We'll add the leaves in there. And then now... in for the tatin. This is the bit that both of us used to have nightmares over.
Dread?
Huh?
Dread?
Dread, yeah, exactly. So once it's cooked and cooled down...
That looks like a particularly beautiful one, I have to say.
Well, let's not say too much too soon.
Well done to this side of the kitchen, homemade.
Yes, so... if there's any...
Not forget them, Bryn.
Yeah, I know, we've done a great job. If there's any excess liquor, pour it into a bowl. And that also can be a dressing as well. Just split with a bit of vinegar, olive oil, use it up. So the key is now to get the tatin out. It's got to be warm to be flipped out, because otherwise the caramel will stick to the pan. So just be careful. I always think the best way to do it is get it cooked, let it chill down, and then slowly reheat it, which is the best thing. So while that's heating up...
And if you were cooking this in advance, you'd leave it out the fridge, right?
I wouldn't put it in the fridge, no. I would, once it's cooked, leave it out. If you're having a dinner party at 7 o'clock, it'd be cooked by 5, if I'm honest. Yeah. And then you could just literally do this last minute. Yeah. Have all the panics at the end. Yeah. So we're just going to put a bit of the cheese on the plate.
Now, we should touch on the fact that you're, despite everything that's going on, you are opening or taking over the food in a Swiss ski resort. Yeah, so it should have happened in April. So we are taking over the food at the Camping Hotel in Switzerland, Adelboden. It should have been open in April, as I said, but 1st of December, we'll be taking over the food there. So it's going to be the food that I do, with a little bit of a sense of place in the Alps, which I think is very, very important. There's plates under there if you need to flip. So we're just going to now... OK, so it's kind of international food? International food. With the surrounding ingredients. Yeah, and a real sense of place. I've been in the Alps. A lot of cheese, a lot of beef, a lot of potatoes, a lot of veg there. So melted cheese? Melted cheese. Salamis? Like yourself, yes, exactly. And it's open all year round, so 50 weeks of the year. It's great in the winter, as we know, for skiing, but obviously in the summer, there's a lot of outdoor pursuits. There's outdoor swimming pools, the hills, the walking. Nice. So it's going to be I've got one by the sea, one in the city, and now one in the mountains, which I'm quite happy with, yeah. So can you sort your tatin out now? Yeah, out it goes. So we'll just take nearly slid on the floor. Yeah, nearly on the floor. So what we'll do, we'll just slide it onto the board and then cut it. But what I like about when you tuck the pastry down the edges, you get this nice caramelisation all around the side, and that's what you really want. The sticky bits around the side. It's the best bit, yeah. So remember, it's very, very hot. This would be a dish on its own, right? This wouldn't be an accompaniment to a...
No, this would be a starter.
Okay.
You know, depends how much food
Did
you
I read
want.
somewhere, Bryn, that you used to serve this with your cheese course at Adette's?
Yes, we did. I think you had it all, didn't you, when you came in one day?
I think I might have done,
Yeah.
It was magic.
So we just literally want it... Well, it's very hot, you can see it's quite tricky, but slide it off. See why I don't cook it very often for my wife, can't you?
Why? Because it's a pain.
Because it's quite tricky. Yeah. We'll just get a better piece than that on there. And then we're just going to serve it simply with the bitter leaves dressed in the dressing, and that is it. So it's all about the natural flavours of the beetroot.
Do you get the same taste with golden beetroot or other...
I'd say golden
candied
beetroot could be a bit too sweet.
Right.
So I'd always go for the red beetroot, if I'm honest. Okay. And that is it. So that is our beetroot tartatin, whipped goat cheese and winter bitter leaves.
Brilliant. Ooh.
Careful, it's hot.
Right.
I know, I don't really... I'm a bit careful with my...
Right. OK, so, Ollie, I'm intrigued with this. We've got a bottle of port on the side. What are you thinking?
Well, I tried a few different pairings with it, and this was the best. This is Taylor's LBV, late bottled vintage port. Taylor's pioneered this style, and it's 2015, which was a brilliant vintage, but it wasn't declared, so a lot of the top vintage port fruit will have gone into this. Now, it's obviously a blend of grapes from Portugal's Douro Valley. The reason it goes so well with the dish is it has lots and lots of richness. It has a spicy character. It's fairly sweet, but for me, I think the mistake with port is to always serve it at the end of the meal. I actually love it at the beginning of an evening, you know, chilled tawny port in Portugal, very common. And I think styles like this, for a tenner, I've seen it elsewhere on sale for 16 quid. This is a treat. Properly rich, and with the dish, it celebrates the natural sweetness that goes into the beetroot, and obviously the contrast with those richer flavours as well.
It is delicious.
It's quite acidic, which I always think port is quite sweet, but it's got a lot of acidity there as well.
Absolutely, yes. Some of the grapes have that absolute kick and tang, and it's that kind of bramble laced with spice that delivers the goods.
I liked your comment in rehearsal, halfway to gout.
Yeah.
How is that?
This is delicious. I mean, that is one step too far for me this time of day. I'm sorry.
I don't know what Ollie's thinking. I'm so sorry.
This is beautiful.
Right, the website vote is now closed and we're going to find out what Nigella will be facing a bit later on, but we couldn't have her on the show without rustling something up from a news book. So, Nigella, over to you. What are we doing?
Well, I'm doing a sort of very homespun recipe, but I adore this. It's a marzipan loaf cake. And marzipan does a lot of the work, but as I say, a friend of mine once, I gave it when I was testing it, you know, out, and she ate it, and she said, "Oh, this is delicious. What is it?" And I said, "It's marzipan loaf cake." And she said, "It can't be. I hate marzipan." But anyway, it's one bit of marzipan. Obviously, you don't need to do it in the processor. It's just, you know, it's easier.
Okay.
You can just mix everything. All right, butter.
And so everything goes in at once. I mean, this is very much your kind of trademark, isn't it? Making good food and make it sort of
But it is very, very simple.
And
And just because you've got marzipan, you don't need as much sugar as you might in a cake regularly. But I love a plain cake. You know, when it's a special occasion. Now, this is plain flour, but you could use gluten-free flour.
Okay. What about coconut flour?
Don't even... Oh, God! Why didn't I say that for food hell? Oh, what an idiot. Anyway, baking powder.
It's one of your hates, isn't it?
Now, I love cardamom because I've got here the almonds in the marzipan, the butteriness of the cake and some vanilla there. I love... There's a slight bitter quality to cardamom, which I think really, you know, offsets it well. But to be honest, it's not always easy to find ground cardamom. So sometimes I like it just with a little pinch of pepper. Now, I'm going to try and put this rather large spatula in. This is vanilla paste rather than extract, and I love it because you get all the seeds.
Okay.
But either will do. But as I say, you know, it's a really amenable loaf cake because you could just, you know, forget the cardamom if you want a bit of cinnamon, also lemon zest or orange zest, and as I say, a teeny bit of school pepper. Just a pinch.
And would this be based on another recipe you've done before? Or you've added
Years
things
ago,
and
I
changed
did
things?
do a cake with marzipan in it, but this is quite different. But I was just thinking so much, those sort of, you know, what they used to call a cut and come again cake when you just have a slice with a cup of tea rather than a big fancy iced number.
Right, so while you're doing that...
OK, so I'm going to make a noise. I can't tell what I'm going to say.
Not really feeling kind of totally Nigella, so can we kind of Nigella this up a bit? Get
Do you want me to make this noise or not?
You make that noise. Let's bring the lights down there. let's fill that show. Let's have some twinkly lights. Can we have some twinkly lights? Because there's always twinkly lights.
Oh, now I feel at home.
Yeah, you see.
I did anyway. I did anyway.
Let's have some music. We need some music as well. That's much better.
This is very relaxing, Matt.
This is like one of Nigella's dinner parties that everyone wants to go to.
It really is.
I like this. Can we always have me in soft focus with some lights around the edge as well?
Yes, OK. Well, I should have brought my own lights to put on you.
No,
right,
nice.
I'm dolloping it in a rather inelegant manner, but that doesn't matter. It's such a beautifully fragrant batter. That's what I love about this. Very nice.
Do you know what? It's fascinating watching you cook because you don't script anything, do you?
No.
In this. So it's interesting because you're talking like you do on your TV shows.
Well, I'm afraid I'm like that in my real life too. I give a running commentary of everything I do. Let's just do this a bit. I'm going to go and put this in here. In fact, I wanted to take the advanced driving test once because you have to give a running commentary if you're doing changing now to second gear.
That?
I don't drive anymore, but I wanted to do it because I thought I spend my whole life giving a running commentary of what I'm doing.
I love the licking of the fingers. It's very
no,
Nigella
I didn't mean to.
at home.
It's just because I didn't have a cloth on me.
There's a tap there.
I didn't have a cloth on me, so I didn't want. I wanted to because obviously, so that just needs 30 or 40 minutes.
It's what we see on your shows.
No, I don't lick my fingers on the show. I just did it because if you leave a bit batter on the top of the tin, it will burn.
That's the best bit. I'll be after the bowl.
Right.
OK, so what's the best way to eat this?
Well, there isn't a bad way, I think. I don't mean to be immodest, but I like it like this, but also, if you want to make it taste caramelised and a bit like a sort of almond brioche dough, and I know that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
What I do, you're the monitor, aren't you?
I am. You put that there.
I'll go back. Bryn style. Yeah. So if you put it in a hot oven for 3 to 4 minutes aside on a very flat sheet, it goes sort of caramelised and warm, then with some other tart berries.
Oh, no.
It's very moist.
It's really moist.
Well, it's sort of...
Do you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever tried those rum cakes? You can buy at airports.
No, I know, it tastes like you put a syrup on.
But those nice soft rum cakes.
Actually,
that's delicious.
Actually, rather than vanilla, a bit of rum would be lovely in it.
Totally would.
That's the nice thing about this sort of cooking.
Nice cup of tea.
That's very nice.
I love it.
But kind of, has an old-fashioned feel about it too.
That is delicious. Delicious. Eat it like that with a cup of tea. Brilliant. Try that one in the new book. So will Nigella be facing her food heaven, seared scallops with black pudding and anchovies, or her food hell, semi-Fredo with candied peel and autumn fruits? We're going to find out after Nadia Hussein shows us a recipe hack for making a great breakfast idea from scratch. Thanks, Nadia. Right, let's find out what Nigella is facing. Heaven or hell? Could be heaven. Black pudding and anchovies, scallops, celeriac. Could be hell. Candied peel. Where do you think you've gone?
I think I'm going to have heaven.
Do you?
No, I think everyone always.
I
think it's always hell, isn't it? Because they want to make me.
Well, I can tell you,
suffer.
it was a big turnout today. A lot of voters. 61% of people went for heaven. Oh, come on! Really? Wow, that was real end of the evening stuff.
Thank you, people. Thank you.
I don't fancy
I don't know where to look. Thank you for everyone. I'm very grateful.
Thank you to everyone who voted. Both the recipes are on the website. Let's get cracking because we haven't got long. Right, Bryn, you've got the scallops there. If you could open those nicely and pan-fry those. We've got some morcilla black pudding, because along with boudin noir, I think is one of the nicest black puddings. I prefer it personally over traditional British
There's
one.
no bad black pudding.
There is no black pudding. I like the creaminess, I suppose, of the continental ones. Right, celeriac. This is quite a small, knobbly-looking celeriac. So I'm going to get this in a pan very quickly so it doesn't discolour, with some garlic, some butter. I'm going to cook that in milk, a bit of thyme, That's pretty much it. And I'm going to mandolin that nice and fine. Cool. You made a right old pig's ear of this, I tell you. OK, and then we'll talk about the rest in just a bit. So, Nigella, I mean, you've got the new TV show coming out to go along with a book, Monday the 9th of November.
That's right.
You must be very proud of those TV shows, because when they came out, I remember as a young chef watching them, and it was the sort of... You and Jamie, I suppose, were the first kind of sort of TV chefs who created the lifestyle, as well as a straight cooking show. It was the aspirational...
Well, I mean, you know, I feel that I don't qualify as a chef, but I feel that it wasn't meant to be lifestyle, but at the time it suited me, and for the first lot, you know, I filmed at home because I had to be at home, and it was lovely to be allowed to just warble on. And not to have to do it. No, because I think if there's a script to a certain level, you're having to deliver it.
Yeah.
But when you do it in a way when you're just saying what you think, and that's great. And, you know, I always work with the same crew, so it was... I didn't think we'd manage, but we did. We got back and we did it. The band got regrouped.
Yeah.
And
it's the same gang...
There were two or three people. Obviously, not everyone can do it every time, but yes.
That must be quite nice. It's like working with this mob.
Yeah,
it's quite nice.
It really is.
You know, this mob, that's a term of endearment, right? Don't look at me like that.
It really is. It's lovely. It's really lovely.
Nigella, I don't know how much we're allowed to reveal of the new show, but I saw a preview of it. It's fantastic. But I'm just thrilled by the ingenuity of using new ingredients and ingredients in a new way.
Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, I'm not going to give away too much now, but the thing is about cooking is... I suppose that's the thing that's so fascinating, because you can use basically all the ingredients you might have at home and just add a little touch here, a little touch there. So essentially, it makes it kind of easygoing, and that's exciting. I think I love that sort of mixture.
No, for sure, and it gave me some ideas, but I would never have occurred to me to use some of the ingredients we've done, and it's spectacular.
Thank you.
Do you think? I mean. Do you find a lot of pressure in coming up with another book? Because obviously you've got an army of followers who kind of demand it, I guess. They have one, but...
No, I mean, I don't do... I've never done a book every year. I normally do a book every 2 years, but this time I had a 3-year gap because I really wanted to wait until I had something that I just really felt I had to do. I knew I had this book sort of incubating, or percolating, I should say, really more. And so I waited till I was ready to do it. And I know I'm very lucky to be able to wait, you know?
And is there a lot of pressure sort of from publishers? Because presumably they want you to keep turning out books. I mean, it's good for business, but you have to be in the right sort of frame of mind to write one.
Well, you know, and television likes to have more on, but, you know, I'm not a churning out machine, and I couldn't do it.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I'm not a big operation, so it does take me quite a long time to do all the testing.
Right.
You know.
OK, right. Quick recap. So there's celeriacs in here, just cooking gently, kind of gently, in the milk. That spoon's hot. We won't use that. This is the finished puree. So obviously take that out, drain it, put it in a blitzer, blitz with enough of the liquid just to bring it together. So you want it to hold its shape. Oops, on the plate. Bryn's got the scallops and the black pudding going on there.
So scallops, when we try season the scallops after in the frying pan, don't season before, because you don't get the caramelisation of the sugars in it, so always season the scallops after.
Top tip.
Top tip, there you go.
Right, these anchovies. Now, these are really nice Ortiz anchovies. I mean, they're one of the kind of go-tos, I think. So tell us about these. Why do you love these so much?
Why do I love anchovies?
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult. You want me to apply reason to matters of huge emotional resonance, and it's well, I love I think what I love, I adore salt, but I'm so interested in an ingredient which offers salt, but as it cooks often mellows. So extraordinary, and so what it adds is depth rather than intense salinity. And I think that, and I find it in that sense, it is quite it's one of those alchemy ingredients that what it does to other recipes, it's wonderful by itself. I like bread and butter with anchovies straight from the tin on top.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you use anchovies in a slow-cooked stew, a lamb stew, a beef stew, which I've been doing for 100 years, you wouldn't necessarily know there were anchovies there, but what it does is just give so much more, I don't know, resonance.
And so much depth of flavour to it, isn't it?
And there's sort of, there's a complexity that hits sort of different notes at the same time. I mean, I do feel, to me, it's like a music thing. Yeah, so I love anchovies for that reason, and I think that a lot of people think they hate anchovies because they've only ever had that kind of rusty nail on top of a pizza.
On top of the pizza, yeah.
And actually, if you know that you really can. When I was doing an anchovy recipe, my new programme, the Focus puller, he was not like an anchovy person, but I said, no, this is entry level. You tried this first. You don't need to prove yourself. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not a test. We all like different things. Yeah. And it wasn't what he expected it to taste like, because it had, in a way, it was both. It was less sort of hitting him on the head with it, you know.
Do you add anchovies into dishes that you shouldn't? Do you always find yourself adding anchovies in because you love anchovies, not because they should be there?
Well, I haven't added them to a cake yet, but I don't know what's a shouldn't.
Well, sometimes a stew. If you're making a stew where it's like if you're doing a lamb stew, obviously salsa verde goes really well. But sometimes I'll add things.
Lamb. I think often as well, it's adding it at the beginning of cooking or after you've really cooked onions slowly, which goes so sweet, then balancing them just slightly with some anchovies, which melt
salad,
into it.
with olives and anchovies on beautiful.
I mean, this is why my books end up as they do.
This is why there's 12 pages of anchovy chat.
And then why don't you...
No, definitely.
Okay. And for quick dressing, melt it into cream.
Oh, like a bagna chowder, or?
No, salad dressing.
Oh, OK. Nice. I should have done
with a bit of garlic. Sorry.
OK, so to recap, so I've got the chicory, which you love so much. I've left the anchovies whole because I think they're better. I don't want to blitz those, they're too nice. Some of the celeriac puree, the nice crumbled morcilla, and the little dressing. And that's pretty much it.
That's good, that.
That looks better than the one I did earlier.
Very good.
I was quite pleased with that.
Thank you. Just spin it over here.
Hey.
It's beautiful. Right. I'm diving in.
You dive in. Now, I know you're partial to a rosé, so
I am,
there you
actually, and also I don't have to walk now.
Ollie, talk us through this.
I am indeed in heaven.
Are you? Good. Good.
Thank you.
Nice combination.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Ollie, talk us through this.
Just to make it even more heavenly, I know you love your Provençal rosé, Nigella, so I have chosen Chateau du Rouet from Provence. Which is £8.50 in the carb. I love it for a number of different reasons. I think the wine is fantastic, it's beautifully balanced, but also the bottle, it's slightly smaller, 500ml, so between two of you, it's a couple of glasses and a top-up. It makes the wine a little bit cheaper as well because the stuff in the bottle is amazing and it would push the price up to be a full bottle. But it's just got that gorgeous Provençal lightness of touch. The blend of grapes, you get the usual Grenache and Syrah, but there's one in there called Thibauvin, which you don't find very often, and it makes this particular wine a little bit more elegant. So really refreshing, really vital, and a little taste of heaven for you.
And good to see we're still...
fantastic.
Despite the fact we're in the depths of autumn, winter, we're still pushing on with the rosés. Just keeping that summer vibe alive.
You know, we've had the portable fireside, this portable sunlight. I mean, we're going to be fine.
That's why he's on telly.
That's why he's always here.
That is why he's on telly. Portable sunlight. Nigella, how was your morning?
Fabulous.
Fabulous. Excellent. So that's exactly what we wanted to hear. Cheers, lad. Nice to see you. Ollie, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ollie.
That's all from us today on Saturday Kitchen Live. Thanks to Bryn, obviously, Ollie, and of course, Nigella. All the recipes from the studio are on the website, bbc.co.uk/Saturday Kitchen. Now I'm back on BBC Two tomorrow at 10 a.m. for more Best Bites. And next week, we're back here live with Shivi Ramatar. Happy Halloween, whatever you're doing. Have a great night. Bye for now.